Love how Marisa gives her general announcement and then Avatar goes limp for a little bit. Like
I'm setting it up.
as we set up everything. It's amazing. Should I get the music going again as we are waiting?
No.
All right, we are live. We're live. Did you want to give the first?
Live.
Yeah, Brian. Did you want to give the first announcement, or I can announce everything?
Yeah. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, avatars of all ages. We have some exciting topics for you guys today. I'm gonna give a brief kind of overview of what we're gonna be talking about today, and then, as usual, we are going to be. Thank you, Marisa. We will be doing general Q&A after that. So up first, I'm going to have Umpo Corgo talk a little bit. For those that have gone to the Q&A before, he's been here. He's taken over some of our creative leadership on UGC. So he's going to say a couple words. After that, we're going to have Godzilla talk about persistence. This is one of the most requested features coming up. People can save things from instances, which will be amazing. So we're gonna give up kind of what's happening on the dev side, as well as a timeline for that shipping. Next, we have Josh about some amazing things related to costumes, which will be amazing. And then we have Rye Guy, who's going to talk about some exciting things related to Maker Pen Workshop. You may have heard that word before, those words, when it comes to Meist, for example. So we have something in the works that we want to share for the first time here. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Grumpo Corgo, and I will hang out over here. So thank you all. Excited.
Oh wait, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Or maybe I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me just...
I can hear you.
Voices from none to all.
I can hear you.
It's me, guys.
I could hear you.
I cannot.
That intro there, but yeah. Anyways, I just want to say hi, everybody. Super excited to be here. I can't wait to talk to more of you. And we are gonna listen to cool things from Godzilla now about persistence.
Can I say one thing really quick? For anybody who can't, for anybody who can't hear anybody else, I recommend going into your settings, change voices. I could hear to none, and then change it back to all.
Yep. Got it.
Marisa's just used to people having to do that to her and not having to do it to other people. So
That's very true.
that's totally what just happened.
Now.
It's like, wait, that was me.
Yeah, so I have mentioned persistence here before, but just to sort of cover what it is again. The first version of persistence is going to be 100 per player variables of some of our basic types. Int, float, string, vector, film, flower punk, what else?
Bool and Quaternion.
Yeah, there we go. You'll have 100 of those variables per room that will save per player. So when Corgo comes back to my room, it will remember those variables for him. And it'll be 100 variables shared across all the subrooms associated with a particular room. It'll just be a setting on the variable that you can toggle that will make it show up in a page in your room set that lists all of the variables you have in your whole room that'll update when you save the room. So if you've gone to a new subroom and you need to know what the name of that variable, you can connect to it. You can find that name in the list, and that's also where you can delete or reset those values. It's looking like this will ship probably the end of the month, maybe a little bit into next month. We're almost done with it internally. We're just hooking up to the server side of it, so expect that pretty soon.
Awesome.
I have a sec for me and Flowerpunk to answer any questions on that, if there are any.
good.
Yeah, we might need to
Here's
use
another
the our magic wand to.
Do we have the little pointer?
Okay. Sorry, I must have missed that. All right, go for it, Yos.
Real quick, can everybody hear me all good?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, you sound great.
Perfect. Alright, so, I asked this question back, on the Discord when I first saw the announcement, probably a couple months ago, and didn't exactly get a clear answer, so I want to ask again, considering you're closer to, shipping date. Will we ever get an external editor for, persistent variables? Like, so you can go on RecNet and open like a Google Sheets or something.
Oh, no, probably not. I feel like that quickly becomes an untenable amount of data to expose on RecNet once you have a popular room. You're talking about 100 variables for tens of thousands of players, because each of them have their own set. So I wouldn't count on that. Flowerpunk, correct me if I'm misunderstanding this, but that doesn't sound super likely to me.
Alright, perfect.
Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that.
That's
one thing.
that's okay.
One thing that has related to that come, I think, at least 2 Q&As in the last 2 Q&As. Alexa, who's waving over there, who's talking about kind of the journal APIs to either bring things into RecNet or out of RecNet. That is something that's on our radar. There are some interesting scenarios on that, somewhat related to what your question is. We don't currently have any plans around that, but it's something internally we have continued to have conversations around. Again, no concrete plans, but we're chatting about it. So maybe sometime next year or so, but no promises on that.
I also want to
Sweet.
mention
Great to hear.
that this is not the new version of leaderboards. This will not you won't be able to access people's unless they're in the room at the time. There will be a version of leaderboards that comes for CV2 in the future. We think these per player variables will cover almost all of the cases where people are using the leaderboards to achieve persistence. This should do a much better job of that than the leaderboards do, but it won't actually work as a leaderboard yet. So that'll come in the future.
All right.
Sweet.
All right, Alexa.
I just want to get this clear. I know this is probably wrong. We won't be able to store lists as persistent data, right?
Not immediately. We're looking at making that possible. If we do that, they're probably gonna have an effect on the number of total variables you can store because they have such a big effect on the size of the data you're having to download compared to the other types of variables. They're not completely off the table, but they're not gonna happen right away.
Okay. My other question was that get persistent in RecNet. That was already answered. So I'm gonna come back with a lot more questions. So
I hedged that because I knew that was coming.
All right.
That's great.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, Mr. Grape. Dr. Grape, sorry.
So set up all the variables. It's going to be all through the room page. Like you decide a name and its input, and then you can edit the chip in your space.
Yes, correct. If you have variable my gold in one room, and then you go to another subroom of that same room, and you make another variable of the same type called my gold, and you set them both to be cloud variables, then they will share a value. And that value will be downloaded when you load into the room, and they behave mostly like a normal variable until the player leaves the room. It'll get auto-saved at a certain interval. But because the same player isn't ever in 2 rooms at the same time, they won't compete or anything. But yeah, so they'll be the same variable. So this will let you make a quest where you earn gold and it lasts from subroom to subroom.
Alright.
Stuff like that.
Good. All right, Panite.
Yeah, can you guys go over how resetting variables will work?
Yeah.
We've had to delete leaderboard stats before in the process.
So the way this will work is you'll access this list of variables in a page in the room settings where it'll show you all the variables in any subroom in your current room. And you'll be able to see that page if you have MIPIN access, and you'll be able to edit that page if you have save permissions. And if that variable exists in any of your rooms as a physical chip, you'll be able to reset it, which will delete the stored value for every player across your room. And if you want to actually delete the value, you have to go delete all the physical chips first. And instead of the reset option, you'll have a delete option. And both of these will basically clear the value from the ledger. Reset will just clear it and then make it again right away, so that the name is still intact across all your rooms. Whereas delete will clear it from the ledger completely because there are no more chips.
Yeah. And
Did I get that right, Firepunk?
Yeah. When you do a reset, it will basically change the underlying data on the variable, such that it'll invalidate it'll invalidate all existing values.
Let's do one more persistence question. Move on. We have a lot of awesome topics to get over. If you do have more persistent question and feel like you did not get that answered, we'll definitely save that for the general Q&A. Definitely want to hear those. But we have awesome topics to talk about. So, one more.
All right. I think that's good, right? I think some of them want to save it until the general Q&A.
Yep. Feel free to tag me in Discord as long as it's like a sane hour on the west coast of the U.S.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So what's the next big topic?
Yeah, I think we've got Josh up next. Is that right, Bryha?
You can be.
All right, Josh.
As I'm muted,
Yes,
so
yes.
I'm on the whole time. So sorry about that.
All right, cool. If this wasn't your schedule, I've cut in line. Hi, everybody. I'm Josh. I am not usually at these things. I work on a different team from a bunch of these folks, usually working on RROs and stuff like that. But we're collaborating on something pretty cool we want to start sharing with you a little bit early. We're going to be releasing a new kind of costume dummy. In addition to the existing one, we're going to have a full body costume dummy, which, drum roll, will give you arms, legs, feet, torsos, necks, whole body while you're wearing it. It's something that we've wanted to try for a really long time, but we've never wanted to really, change the appearance of our avatars. We love the way our characters look in the game, but we want to have the ability for you to sometimes dress up with, a slightly detailed character. So what that means is that there will be a dummy with a whole lot more body parts on it instead of just the head and the body and hands. I'll have an upper arm and a lower arm and an upper spine and a stomach and hips and all this kind of stuff. You can edit all this, and then when you're wearing it, we're doing a bunch of work to kind of create some animations that'll play along with it. So as you walk around, the characters will take a step and they'll walk, and when you jump, they'll jump. When you wave, they'll wave, and it's going to work in VR, it's going to work on screens, it's going to work on all of our different supported devices. And so we're super excited about that. We're thinking of releasing this in the middle of July, so pretty soon. We're making a lot of good progress on it. But just kind of wanted to, do a bit of a sneak preview and start talking about it a little more publicly.
Woo! Sweet!
We could do a couple questions.
Direct questions related to costumes.
Just go ahead and Yos and go. And Glitchy next. Oh, we cannot hear you.
Yos.
Let's try this again. Try again.
Still nothing.
There we go. You got it.
Hey,
You're
there
good.
we go.
You're good.
There we go.
Okay, perfect. So, the one stopping me from spending 24/7 in VR is that I can't use my full body trackers. Now, I wanted to ask, does this mean that we might be getting full body tracking support? Because I know a few other games, which I won't mention the name of, which,
Sure.
support that. Is confirmation that we might be seeing it in Rec Room?
Is confirmation that you're not. We're not going to be adding them right now. But if they're really popular and we see that using these full body costumes a lot, hey, we'll certainly take that into consideration and reevaluate. Like everything we do, this is sort of step one. And so we're really jazzed about it as our step one. But hey, never say never. Those games are really cool too.
Right. Cool. Oh shoot. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, let's go for it.
one other question that I had related to costumes. So taking up too much of your time, I'm gonna try and speed through this. One thing that I've always wanted to see on costumes is the ability to connect gadgets directly to a costume. Will we be seeing this functionality come with costumes? Maybe with this costumes update? Will we be seeing that or not really?
It's not a part of this first costumes update, but it's definitely something that we have taught and want to see too. So it's not going to come in July. Probably not going to come super soon, but it's definitely something that we're planning on adding.
Yep,
Yeah.
we've mentioned the option model a few times here, and that is one of the things standing in the way of actually getting to do that, but it is very much on my radar. I'm not going to let that one fall off the table, so it'll have someday, we hope.
I think we all want that. I won't go too much in detail of object model, but we have started planning what that looks like. It's looking like probably next calendar years when that will land, and then we can start thinking through some of these big kind of really cool features that are enabled once we do that work. So a lot of engineering that needs to happen to enable that, but definitely those are the types of things that this will enable, and we'll be able to see that like shortly after that work. So definitely on our radar. We would love to see that as well.
Yeah. One quick thing as well, because I saw on Discord not that many people know what object model is. They really get time to watch the Q&As. So can you give us like a brief summary of what exactly... Yeah.
It's object hierarchy. So you imagine the costume, and then that's the parent, and then you have the gadget gizmo that would be like the child on that. Did I do okay?
Great.
Yeah,
Right, we're gonna go.
Yeah, that was good.
to me.
Okay. We're gonna go to Alexa, and then we're gonna go over into this area. So go ahead, Alexa.
Are we gonna get a control panel with this costume?
It will have some really sort of minimal circuits integration when it first launches, and then we'll add some more stuff
okay.
over.
Yay!
It'll have a control panel, but it'll basically do the same things that the V1 dummy did, except in V2.
Oh, okay. That's good enough. Thank you very much.
All right, Pan Knight.
Raise your hand if you guys saw our video on invisibility and costumes. I think it was called Letter Devs Visibility. I was wondering how much of consideration you guys took. Obviously, this is like really exciting, being able to deviate from the standard rec room shape in our UGC rooms and kind of create something that might not look exactly like, you know, you're in the rec center, for example. And I feel like having this full body stuff is like an incredible like first step into like really creating something that looks nice, is also something like kind of our own. I'm wondering, like, will we have like support for maybe you want an invisible torso so you can make like a skeleton torso and that's like see-through, or maybe you want a peg-legged pirate, or you're missing a foot, or you're like, you know, stuff like that. Like how much freedom are we being given here?
Well, so first, your video was incredible. That was awesome. We had a conversation about it this morning, so please keep that coming. I will say, when it ships, you won't be able to hide your torso, and the reason is, you know, we care about Rec Room being a fun place for people to socialize, sort of in all contexts, and so, you know, our sort of immediate sort of reaction is to keep torsos visible. But honestly, you've started the conversation. We're really talking about it and taking it seriously. So, you know, first ships, you won't be able to hide the torso. You'll be able to do a ton of really cool stuff. Maybe you could paint it black and put some, you know, a spine bone in the front and kind of have sort of a style skeleton. But, you know, keep it coming, and we're going to keep talking about it, and, you know, we might change our mind.
I'd elaborate that on a little bit further, because one thing you will be able to do with this new costume is hide everything. Like, the only things you have to show are the Rec Room parts, the torso and the hands. If you want to do the peg leg, that'll totally be possible, because you could only draw on one leg of the dummy and the other one will be invisible. So you'll have some amount of what you're wanting. You won't be able to hide the torso specifically.
But those examples in your video were really, really great.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. All right, Fox Nicole.
All right. Is there any idea on like ink costs and ink related stuff with these costume dummies? Because currently, I think every kind of body part to a costume dummy can have like about like what, like 1% ish to their 1.6 ish ink to each part. If this is gonna have a bunch more sections, are we gonna see a costume dummy that's potentially like 20% ink, like full decked out, or is it gonna be a little bit more limited, or what's that gonna look like?
Yeah, Godzilla, you want to talk to that one a little bit?
Yeah. So basically what this is going to look like is the limit per body part is exactly the same as it used to be. So the max potential ink cost of a costume is than it was before. I think it's not actually an ink limit, it's a shape container limit. You can get up to 500 shapes on each bone. And that is the same as it ever was. You just have 17 bones now instead of 4, so you could potentially make a more expensive costume. But what that also means is that if you want to grab a costume that you've already made and pull the geo out and put it on this new one, the limit should be the same, so you shouldn't run into lower ceilings anywhere.
Yeah.
Does that get at what you were hoping to learn?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Yeah,
Fox.
something really fun that I've done recently is I found a couple of really awesome inventions that folks have made of statues or like posable figures or something, and just kind of kit bash them onto the costume. Pretty easy to make a really rad full body costume out of them. So I think, and that didn't add really a meaningful ink cost to it at all. So I think it'll be acceptable when it comes out.
Yeah, I think you still pay like a 1% cost for the dummy itself, and then after that it's just the shapes. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, thank you. All right, the bees. I know that you had your hand up. So.
Oh yeah, I did, man. I just got tired. It's heavy, man. All right, so I was just curious. Is there any point in the future where we're gonna be able to wear costumes in public rooms? I mean, like, care from room to room.
It's a great question. Not with this first update, but you're talking about costumes a lot and working on costumes a lot. So, maybe in the future, it's definitely something that we're interested in pursuing.
That's great. I mean, because the ideas those guys were having about costumes, just like the whole thing, that was fantastic. Be able to take that everywhere you go would be tops.
Right? You'd have exposed right now if you could.
I totally would, wouldn't I? You don't know what I might do. I'd have light bulbs attached to me and spinning. You never know what I'd have going on.
That's great. All right.
Amazing. Let's do one more costume question. We'll move on
Yeah.
to Make Your Pen
All right.
Workshop.
Go for it, Labo.
Okay. How accurate will the animation arms track your hand? Let's say you move your hand upside down. Will it be funky? Yeah, like this.
Yeah, so it'll track
And
your
the other way
hand
around.
real accurately. It gets less accurate between your wrist and your shoulder because we don't have good information for that, but we have really good information.
Also
for
have
your
a
hand.
delay on it. Okay.
Not a delay so much. It's just like it might be wrong sometimes, right? So if we had perfect information, if we knew where your elbow was, you could know exactly how your arm is oriented, but we don't, so we have to kind of guess. And so, there's a couple different ways my elbow could be positioned right now to make my hand go here. And so sometimes it just won't match up with your real arm, but it shouldn't be laggy or slow or anything like that. It should be really responsive.
Okay. Thank you.
That make sense?
Cool.
Okay.
I'll actually unmute myself in between transitions here, unlike last time. So sorry about that, Josh. Next up, Rye Guy. Let's come and talk about the Make Your Pen Workshop. I'm super excited about this.
Hello. You probably heard me talk about Maker Pen workshops before or seen some of the blog posts, but if you guys remember Tomb Heist, we're looking to do one starting in the next month. This one kind of focused on persistence and room retention. And so with persistence around the corner, we're looking to start making a cool room based on that, around plants. So it'll be growing flowers in the room with your friends. And we're looking at a couple projects there to kind of help you guys by adding some new features. And so one of them that we're looking at is a way for you guys to get really basic input while holding an object. So like our paintball guns have, like you can pick them up and you can shoot. We're looking at exposing basically a handle that you can pick up and hold and do press the primary action button on your platform, it'll fire a Circuits V2 signal off of that, which should be pretty cool. And then the other project that we're looking at doing is related to retention and how to bring people into your rooms. And so I'd like to open up just like a forum to talk about those two a bit more, to hear about what stuff you guys would really want from those. The second one being related to retention that we're looking at right now is the ability to send notifications from your room to players while they're not in the room. So you could say like, hey, I'm doing this thing, like come back to the room. Or you are making like a quest room, for example, and someone made it halfway through, you could send them something like, hey, come back and finish the quest. You made it halfway through, like that. But I'd love to hear more about what you guys want out of those features, or what you guys think would be good retention features for your guys' rooms.
Right.
Before we jump in, I want to like reiterate some of that as well, where some of the retention, we acknowledge very clearly right now that we're not doing much. Like if you're a player, to be able to go back to the same room, and as creators, like you obviously are being incentivized to do people back into those and form those relationships with your audience as well. And so that's why retention is really important to us. We want you guys to be able to build cool experiences that are even more enhanced when people are coming back frequently, where maybe there's a leveling system you built where right now we don't really support that. So with persistence coming, both save variables and some of these other features that we're thinking about, those together, we think it's going to be really powerful to build deep experiences that like people love and want to keep coming back to. So wanted to add that as let's hear what you guys have to say.
All right, Pen Knight, go for it.
For progression, or retention, I guess, we've experimented for this quite a bit in our Sword Summit room, Sword Summit 2, which is not out yet. We're having some issues with it. But anyway, the thing that we kind of found with building Sword Summit 2 was we really like rewarding players. And, think of any room original. You play through Golden Trophy 1,000 times, maybe not only because it's fun, but every time you play, you kind of get a new reward at the end. Maybe sometimes you guys update the quest and add a bunch of new rewards to it. With our UGC rooms, it's kind of difficult to reward players because we have so much limited ink space. For example, one thing that we really wanted was we have a nice progression in our room built with the tools we have already. But like if we wanted to award players a costume, for example, like if you got 5 kills in Sword Summit, you would unlock this costume. Well, that costume's going to be there forever because it has to take up the 5% ink space. And we can't really swap that costume out with anything else.
Yeah, you have to have
if we wanted to do timed like times of kind of rares, like seasonal stuff, maybe you had like a battle pass in your room or something, anything, where you wanted a rare item. That rare item will always have to be in the room taking up ink space unless you're like scamming people. So like having a way to kind of rotate through, especially like keyed things, but like a rotation of maybe invention somehow, might be really compelling.
Yeah, totally. We've been thinking about that one a little bit in the background, like even thinking about how we're going to be building this Maker Pen workshop. We're definitely feeling the pain of like, hey, I need to account for every single outcome in my room at edit time. And so there's no way for you to kind of really dynamically spawn things as you need them. And so like, I think long term, we want to revisit kind of how we did our spawner to make it more of a more generalized way to spawn objects kind of however you need or whenever you need, rather than needing to hold on to all these things in the room that are always taking up ink, as you say. Does that sound like something that would help you out in those scenarios? Like a thing that you could spawn objects out of dynamically and have them not...
Yeah, I mean, I feel I think we've brought this up before with like the enhanced spawner gadget but like, I mean, anything that can essentially take make an object out of the room and then replace it with another really means that we don't have to worry about ink space at that point because it'll just do it for us. But how that system would look, I mean, I don't know. I think that's up to you guys.
No, totally. That's great feedback, though. That'd be good. That's a good note to take, Brian, if you're taking notes. Thank you. That's a great one to bring up.
Yep.
Does anyone else have any questions on Maker Pen Workshop or any of the projects that I was bringing up, or ideas for retention projects?
Yeah. Dr. Grape, and then we'll move over to Yos.
So you were talking about being able to send players notifications or like reminders, like you're only halfway through this quest. Wouldn't people just be able to constantly spam filling up notifications?
Yeah, so that's totally fair to bring that one up. So yeah, that is a big worry. We don't want to just open up a route to just have everyone kind of spam people with notifications. Like, I think if we release this kind of all up, the right thing for every creator to do is just to put a notification to send anyone who enters their room. So with the initial release of this, we're probably going to be limiting it to specific rooms that we think would do well with retention, that are holding on to people or would use the feature in a good way. But long term, we want to make it so rooms have the ability to kind of mute notifications. If you like an iPhone before, if you open up an app, it's like you have to give permission for that app to send you notifications and stuff. And we're thinking along a similar route. Like, if I try to send a notification or schedule one, it asks you like, hey, do you want to receive anything from this room? And then you can decide if you want to receive them. That seemed like a feasible solve for your worry there.
Yeah, I also had another question. If I
go ahead.
will I be
Hang on, real
forced to
quick,
send it to every single player?
Sorry. Oh, actually, I was gonna mention something, Reggae, which is you can only queue up one notification per player at a time.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess really quick, I'll give a breakdown of the current pitch for the future, which is it's a chip that lets you, while you're in the room, it takes a player and then a relative time to when to schedule notifications. So a player has to be in the room for a notification to be scheduled, and then you can only schedule at the moment just one. So in order to schedule another, they'd have to come back into the room in order for that to happen, basically. So someone would come into your room and you'd say, hey, schedule notification for this player 2 hours, and that's really all you can do with it. So that way you don't have avenues for spam and that kind of thing. Does that kind of make sense? Also, feel free to continue with your question there.
So, I don't want to send like sale notifications to people that have already bought a key. Will I be able to separate players into different groups using the persistent stats?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So this feature is being pretty generalized. So it is going to be a CV2 chip. So you could hook up logic to know, like, hey, what stuff does the person have unlocked as another CV2 kind of graph, and then you can totally hook that up to your notification logic to say, oh, I don't want to send this person this because they already have, I want to send them this instead. It's merely just a way to schedule notifications. So if you have ways to get at that information, you can work around, I'm sure, and you can send people stuff that's only relevant to them. It's a great question.
Oh, all right. We're going to take a few more questions, and then we're going to be asking anybody in the chat have any questions. Trunks will enlighten us with your questions. All right. Silent, and then we'll head off to Alexa.
All right. Is it okay if I ask a little bit of an off-topic question?
Sure.
All right. So I don't know if you guys are familiar, but like on Quest and Quest 2, there's this, everything looks red. Everything on Quest 1 and 2 looks very red. Are there any plans to just apply like a simple filter that makes it so everything's not... Because it's really hard building on Quest to... Because the red and the orange look exactly the same. All right, I don't know if it's you or me, but I think it's definitely something that should be, added.
That's good to know about. Do you want to take a note on that, Braiha? I don't know how many people here are aware of that. Do you just mean like if you look next to you, like does Pan Knight have like a
This
red...
looks red, that looks red. I don't know what's red and what's orange is what I'm saying.
Can we
I don't know what,
like raise your hand if you guys have experienced that? Like, are there other people? Okay, it looks like wow.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Okay. All right,
this is something I tuned for on another game. I made like an avatar, and it was really red, so I tuned down. Yeah.
Well, thanks for letting us know.
Nobody's talked
Orange
about
should
that.
not be
Yeah, nobody's
red.
talked about it.
Thanks for bringing that up.
I thought I should bring it up. Yeah.
Is it just specific
thank
to that device? That
Yeah,
you've seen it?
it's 1 and 2, I believe.
What's 1 and 2? Okay, thank you.
I think it's probably the display. I'm entirely sure. It could be either.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you so much, Silent, for bringing that up. We're going to go to Alexa, and then we're going to ask the live stream if they have any questions. We're going to read off their questions, and then we'll go back to other questions. All right, Alexa.
Yeah, we'll do general Q&A after that.
Okay, cannot hear you. Hold on.
Wait, is this general Q&A? Or can I... Okay, good.
We can open up to general if we want.
Yeah, let's just open it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I got so much stuff I want to talk about that I have to put it quite long.
So excited. It's great. I love it.
So my first thing is I want to be able to adjust the hertz frequency of the event receiver to be less than 30 hertz. Like if I only want to be like 1 hertz, I don't have to do like 30 hertz. It takes a lot of heat. Quite bad. Is that something that could be possible?
I have an answer to this one. You could already do this with a delay chip. You take a delay chip and
I know.
plug it off. We're probably not gonna do another chip for it because we think that that's actually the solution. You could tune that down to 1 hertz. It only takes the heat of 1 hertz. You could tune it back up. I think you could even get it faster than 30. Like I think you could get all the way up to 60. There's something about that solution that like doesn't work, or
I know sometimes the delay bugs out and just stops working.
Okay. Well, if there's a bug with the delay, we could fix it.
If at any point heat gets up to 100 and execution stop, you lose the execution in your delay and it will no longer loop.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay. We can think about some contingencies for that, because that probably causes other problems too. Not the heat.
Okay, my next question is what is the new currency thing about? I saw Watch as like a CV2 make menu as a CV2 like chip. What is that? If you can respond to that, if that's okay.
Who here has the most context?
First. I have a little bit of context. So that's actually outside of the UGC, so that's why you're getting blank stares here. What we've done is created this circuit. So even internally, other teams can kind of on that, build things. The currency chip is going to be something, it's currently in beta right now, where people can come in and basically create your own currency that is like kind of correlated to Rec Room's currency and tokens, but in UGC somebody could come in, basically purchase like the room's currency and then use that for keys, for example. And so that's kind of the goal of that. So when you use that and then you use some of the persistent stuff we're doing, like really cool scenario right up on that, and potentially kind of upgrade and use for leveling up or however you can think to use that.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to ask about local text and lights and samplers. Well, any updates about that?
Local text and lights are coming. We're going to do them as part of that Maker Pen workshop.
Okay.
I'm working on the design for that right now. Not sure exactly what it's going to be yet, but it is officially
To give you a little timeline in there, I think it'll be sooner rather than later. Almost definitely in the next 3 months, and I think it's got a good shot of being next month.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Just pretty good.
I wanted to talk about the, is there any news about Animation Cv2? And I heard something about motion tracking, like being able to like motion track stuff with animation. Is that coming anytime?
I can answer this unless somebody else wants to. Real-motion stuff is probably gated by object model, like so many of our things. We're going to probably be prototyping it internally soon, but it won't happen. I'm not sure what I heard about motion tracking, but we do not have any internal plans to do that right now.
Okay. And I think one
Okay, last
cool
one.
thing
And then we'll, to the
okay.
stream, and then we can come back after
Okay.
people have had a chance.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. I wanted to talk about the new camera gadget was added, right? Are we gonna get CV2 integration with that? Like, can I change position with a CV2 execute or anything like that?
The streaming camera?
Yeah, the streaming camera gadget.
Yes, absolutely. So, we are, we had some bugs that we needed to fix with that, but yes, you will be able to completely control the camera's position. You can make on rigs, where you got a steady cam or a gimbal or a drone, and you will be able to do really cinematic filming with the streaming camera.
I'll also be able to edit the field of the view, but not be like between 30, 60, like be in between. I can like adjust it by like an input that's going up.
We haven't exposed direct camera control, so you can control its position, but let us know what you want to control with the camera, because we'll definitely add stuff to that later. But right now, you still need to adjust the field of view yourself before the rig, basically.
Mm-hmm. And before I finish, Yo's was ignored. He wanted to ask a question.
So yeah,
he just answered that.
We'll ask the question right after we answer a couple of the questions from the live stream. All right, go for it, Trunks. All right. Yeah, Trunks, can you stand in the stage, please?
Crawling on the ground.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you want me to stand on the
Yeah,
stage?
yeah, you can be on the stage.
Okay, well, this is awkward.
And take a just face the audience. Yeah, you can face the audience.
Face the audience.
Yeah.
Okay, audience, you're getting mentioned this time. Okay, TT Dubs wants to know, will the new costume setup have the same scale restrictions as the current one? They're talking about big costumes, so if someone puts it on, you could see someone very large.
Josh, do you want this one, or do you want me to answer? I think Josh.
I think she's unmuting.
Hey,
Oh,
I'm
no.
not muted anymore. Look at that. Thank you for the question. So when we first released the new full body costumes, you will not be able to scale it up and down. It'll be sort of a one size fits all, so that it can fit on people in VR and on screens. But we do have plans to support stuff like that in the future.
That answer. The next question comes from Andromeda Strike. Will we be able to use the new persistent stats to assign costumes to players as they travel between subrooms?
You should be able to, yeah. I don't have in my head exactly what that graph would look like, but you'll have the ability to assign costumes to people using circuits, and you'll be able to flag arbitrary stats like that, persistent variables, so that should work out fine.
Forward to that. And the last question we've got from the stream from this kind of a bit more off topic, but Javier Campos asked, when will vehicles come into the game, and will we get option to be first person or third person mode in the comfort settings?
Hey, I can answer that one too. So we talked a while back about vehicles that we're building, and we are actually still working on that. It'll all be in first person when it comes on all platforms and screens and in VR. We really care about having sort of an experience that makes sense on all the different platforms. In VR, we don't really think that third person is a great fit, and so on screens, we similarly don't think that third person is a great fit. So vehicles are absolutely coming. We're absolutely working on them. You'll hear more about that this summer for sure, and it'll be in first person.
All right.
For those answers.
Thank you, Trunks. Thank you so much. So I just have a technical problem, but Swag will be actually having the mic this time, and we'll start off with Pan Knight. Oh, sorry, start off with Yo's and then Pan Knight. Yeah, I'm gonna start off with Pan Knight.
Alright, so a few questions that I've saved up. First off, with the retention, one sort of, what do you call it, notification that if I was, you know, an active player in a room, I'd love to know when that room...
Can anybody
Oh,
else?
I can't.
Swag.
No.
Swag.
never-
You
yeah,
gotta
no.
get the mic. You gotta get the mic
Dropped
on him.
off at the
You gotta get the mic on him.
Bad timing.
You gotta get the mic on him.
Suspense.
Yeah, just one second.
Yeah, just point at him again.
We'll get you unblocked.
Swag. Just point at him again. Yeah, just point at him again.
Oh.
All right, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah,
There we go.
All right. So I don't know where you lost me.
You said-
But
You were gonna say what thing you want to send a notification for, and you were like, when the room. And
yeah. So I'd love to have a notification when a room is active, and I'd love to have a notification when maybe a specific event happens in that room. Let's say it's like a PvE room, and there's like a boss fight that happens every hour or something. I'd love to get a notification when that happens. Would that be something that you guys would support?
I'm trying to think. What was the first thing you said? You said when a room is, say, active. I think you cut off like right in the middle.
Yeah, once it like goes past a certain threshold of players, like in any instance in that room.
So like there's 10 people in the
I
room,
see.
then you get a notification. Is that
The room's hot,
Okay.
basically.
It's a hot room.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see. At least
Okay.
the current search for it is more based on like you could kind of do it with the events that you're talking about. Like if you know a set thing is going to happen in like an hour or two, you can totally do that. But it's not going to really work for things that are dynamic that are going to change. So I don't think your hot room example wouldn't work. Because you don't know when that's going to happen. For the thing that we're pitching currently, you have to kind of know when the thing's going to happen. But that's good to know for like in the future for what kind of notifications that you'd like. Can you take a note on that?
Yeah, I got that. That's a cool scenario. I like that.
Yeah,
that's great.
sweet. All right, now about seats, because the latest and greatest thing in Rec Room, everybody's playing with them. I've had a little bit of an experience, nearly threw up, but we don't talk about that. So as of right now, seats are scalable. You can scale them with the Make Pen, but they do not scale the players. And I wanted to know, is that something that you guys would like be able to support?
Hi. Hey. So we're
Hi.
It is intentional. Hello. It's intentional that you don't scale the player with the seats right now. A lot of the reason that we use scale on seats is to sort of hide the visuals so you can kind of decorate it in your own way. But scaling up players sort of its own topic in and of itself that we have seriously been talking a lot about and making some sort of steps towards. We were talking about costumes and scaling costumes before, so not totally sure what's going to happen when. I'm not going to promise that it'll definitely happen, but it's something we're taking seriously. You might see the ability in the future to make a giant mech costume or something, and maybe that could translate to seats in some way. We kind of think about each of these individual pieces sort of working in concert with each other. So maybe the seat doesn't scale you, but the seat talks to something else via circuits that scales you up or something like that. But it's a scenario that we're taking seriously.
All right, perfect. Final question,
seats.
because everybody else wants their
Yeah,
questions
we only have
answered.
10 more minutes, so yeah, so we'll hurry this one up and then we'll move
I'll
on.
make it quick.
Mhm.
So seats are actually the beginning of all the new vehicle stuff that we can expect to see soon. And I know you guys mentioned introducing a trigger gap. I spoke with Gribbly about that one as well a while back. And we spoke about a possibly like a control, like a joystick or a steering wheel. Would we be seeing something like that come in like the next few months?
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
It's great.
That's
All right.
another form of input that we kind of want to expose, like Josh about like steering wheels. That's something that's accounted for on all platforms. We'd love to expose more pilotable things like that for you to control.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No promise
support
that
stuff
we'll get
is-
it all into Circuits V2 right away, but as we
Yeah.
roll it out with vehicles and test it out, we'll figure out how to break it up part of Circuits stuff too.
Yeah, supporting all that stuff as first-class entities is probably something that a lot of other creators see, not just myself. So yeah, can't wait to see what you guys do. I have to head out now. You guys have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your questions.
All right,
See
so
ya.
Hey, you too.
we're just gonna get a couple of last questions here, starting with Panite, then Goat, then Silent, and then Luke Fox. So go for it, Panite. Just go ahead. And...
There we go. All right. Hey, speed round. I want to know more about the trigger thing you guys were talking about, because that was actually probably one of the most interested features ever, and nobody is as excited about it than they should be. The squeeze thing. You press the trigger.
Yeah.
Sends CV. I want to know things
It's
like.
okay, we're all
Is
very
it coming out? Is it coming out soon? Or can we expect?
So I want.
Are there going to be more buttons
Plan for this
supported?
one's going to be coming out in the next, at the end of the next month, hopefully, is the current plan for this. We want to start out with exposing primary action. That's something that's accounted for on all platforms that you can do, and we want to kind of lean into more of the pilotable stuff for exposing more buttons, like the steam wheel that Josh brought up. Is something where we'd probably expose like more accounted for actions for everyone.
All right.
Any more questions on the?
I mean, like, sorry. Like in more layman's terms, I trouble following that. Like, are we getting more buttons other than just the trigger squeeze, or like?
So on the handle list, you're only going to be getting the trigger squeeze. That's just it's you're going to get an on up and an on down, and that's probably it for that. And that's going to be a Circuits V2 signal that you can hook into whatever you want. But for more inputs, for more buttons that we'd expose, we're thinking about exposing those via the stuff that Josh was just talking about. So if there's like a more complex input that people want, like a joystick, we would expose it as like a joystick that is accounted for on every single platform that all the inputs make sense on, basically.
Sorry, is this like vehicles, or is this things like guns?
Things like guns
for
and
example.
stuff. The main reason for this is that we don't really have a concept of a secondary or tertiary action on all platforms. The only one we can guarantee is on every platform is the primary action. So that's what we're giving you first. And then we may expand on it later via other input mechanisms. But for now, it's
All right.
Okay, that's everything. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Panite.
Thank you.
To Goat. All right, we can't hear you, Goat.
I think you're still muted.
I like the bird sounds, though. That's so nice.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Or
we can hear you.
Yep.
You're good.
This is a bit of an off-topic question. It relates to silence about color. Will we be seeing some wheel being added to the maker pen, or is that just going to be another dream that the maker pen are going to have?
Go, can you see that? Sorry, I lost a little bit of a bit of that.
I lag. All right. Will we ever be seeing some type of color wheel being added to the pen, or is that going to be lost?
We're having discussions about that kind of stuff internally. Like, we think that the colors in Rec Room really represent kind of the Rec Room style, and it's great, like a Rec Room palette, basically. But anyways, it's obviously up all the time, and it could be really powerful, but also lead to stuff not really looking like Rec Room anymore. So we're going back and forth on it, and we just had a conversation about it this morning. So I don't have a yes or no for you yet, but we think about it a lot.
All right, thank you for answering my question. Whoever has the next question, you can get the mic.
Thank you, Goat. Luke Fox.
Thank you, Marissa.
Thank you. Are we able to record holotars when wearing costumes or the dummy? Will we be able to record those?
Okay, I can answer this one. The answer is no right now, and that's because this is more of a holotar problem than it is a costumes problem. When we redo the holotars, we're going to look at supporting this. A bit further down the list because we don't think they're as important as the sampler or the animation and some other things. but this is something we hope to tackle when we redo Holotrollers next.
All right, thank you.
We definitely want that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, we have time for one more question, and that is good. All right, we're gonna go to Blazier. I think Yep.
Okay, so I kind of got here half an hour late. I don't know if anybody asked this question yet, but this chip would be super useful if we could get something that could check who has a certain key. If they bought it in the past, it'll save it instead of doing the whole stat system. That's just a pain to set up and sometimes doesn't work. So it would really be helpful if we could just type in it, kind of like the role thing, like get all players with the role.
Yeah, I've heard this one
if anybody
before.
basically.
Brian, you make a note of that one?
Yeah, that's a good one.
We could definitely do it.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
Yep. All right, we do
thank
actually.
you. That's a great suggestion.
Yeah, we do actually have a couple more minutes. I'm gonna go to Legzer, and then we'll head over to this side of the room, and then Golden Cupcakes. Legzer.
Will we ever have the ability to configure projectile speed on RRO weapons?
I can't see it, so.
I think I can answer that one. So what we want to do for sure is have you guys not having to rely on our RO weapons a ton in the future. So, we've got this big thing called Object Model coming up, and that will empower you to make totally awesome custom weapons. But before then, with the trigger gizmo, it's going to give you, that's the thing we've been talking about, where you have your primary input. That's going to give you a lot more abilities to make your own weapon. So I think we want to focus more on you guys to make your own custom weapons rather than kind of configuring a ton of the existing props.
Yep, that's great. All right, thank you, Legzer. We're gonna go to Vol. VAL. All right, Vol, you're on the spot.
Yeah, okay, so, there was a lot of talk a while ago about A's, but that seems to have been dropped, and you were gonna work on it with CV2, but I haven't seen much progress. Are we still gonna be able to do things soon, like redesign the outfit of an AI, give it custom animation, attacks, stuff like that?
So for AI,
Yeah, sure.
we really need to kind of take a step back and kind of look at our solution for that all up. The AI that we have right now is specific, and we want to enable you to be able to create your own. So in the future, probably look less towards customizing our AIs and look more towards making your own. Like things that have been talked about are like a navigation gizmo instead. So like something like a really base level part of our AI system that you can build on top of. I would not hold your breath to be able to customize our AI skin time soon. I think we're gonna look past that. I think.
Right. Oh.
We just
It's being thought about, definitely.
Yep.
There's lots of Roombas going around.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everyone. We are out of time. I'll get to your questions right after the stream. Thank you guys so much for joining. And if you guys have any questions in the stream, go ahead and mention those. We have them written down. Thank you all for joining. And you guys have a good one. And remember, be creative and give it your rec room best.
Woo!
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.